Free socks.
Put the needle on the record.
Brunson stops on a dime, launches. Oh yeah! Jalen Brunson buries it.
They give it to B. All right, here it is. Bernard looking for 50, and he's got it. Back-to-back 50-point games for Bernard King.
Now has Starks for Ewing. Ewing with the spin. Ewing, yes!
1 8 seconds remaining. The Knicks lead by 1. A key word in life is consistency, and that's what the Knicks have been at home with that 146-112 win over the Utah Jazz. It was the return of OG Anunoby. It was a presence, and it was a game that the Knicks just went coast to coast. You know, the Knicks are just getting more and more fun to watch. And even when OG Anunoby went out, the Knicks went 6-3. But OG came back last night on a minute restriction from that hamstring, played 23 minutes in his return. Of course, that is off of the left hamstring strain. He did have 11 points. And he came out and said, it's been no fun, unfortunate, but we tried to help any way possible to be positive, to talk to my teammates. He said before the game, I have explosive moments, conditioning, and get myself back to normal. Well, OG is what this Knicks team. It really does. It just remains the Knicks have to find a consistent, solidified lineup. Before he went down with the injury, OG Anunoby was shooting, 15.8 points, shooting 39.2% from three. And that was in only 12 regular season games. And he is probably, and I'm not going to say probably, he's their best defender. He is their best perimeter defender. And with Landry Shamet going out with that shoulder injury, the rotation of Hart and McBride has been fine. But you need that OG. And I laugh because when we made the trade, I thought it was a good trade. I've said it before. I thought it was a good trade to get him because even though you're paying him like he's a superstar, OG Anunoby that is, you're giving him $200 million, and he's not a superstar. He's one of those guys, and I hate using that fucking sports cliche that does all the little things well and does the things that don't show up on the stat sheet. But this guy really does. He is the glue. We saw how well the Knicks played. What were they, like 15-2? His first 17 games last year or 2 years ago when he came down. I mean, he is this guy that really is an all-around player. He plays defense. He can rebound. He can pass. He can be that scoring threat when you need him to be. But he's also just one of those guys that does everything well. Nothing great, but everything well. And that's what this Knicks team needs. But last night, they didn't need anything. They're out to that record 26 points in a row. They went, 23-0 run. I was so delirious. How the fuck do you open the game on a record 23-0 run? Jalen Brunson scored 33 points in 3 quarters. I love that. It's like almost at one point in time, Mike Brown's like, who wants to play? Looking in the stands going, do you want to play? Do you want to play? They improved their home record to 12-1 at the Garden, which is their best home start since the 1992-1993 season. This is a different team at home, but they're gonna have to figure it out on the road, but this is a different team at home. But when the Knicks raced out to that 23-0 lead, the longest game-opening run since 1996-1997, when the NBA began tracking that play-by-play data. Now listen, the Utah Jazz are not the team that they were a few years ago. Let's be honest. Let's not get delirious about that. They're not the team they were a few years back. But when they came into MSG, it was a rude fucking awakening. And I think it was more of an awakening to the rest of the NBA that when you come into the Garden, this is like coming back into the Garden under the Pat Riley era. This is back. This is coming into the Garden, and you know, this is our motherfucking house. And you don't disrespect us in our motherfucking house. You got to give a big props to Deuce McBride, who is staying hot, basically even since he's had a little bit of a role change. He's shifting back to the bench. especially with OG coming back on after that 9-game absence. But he kept right in the flow. McBride is. I mean, there was a stretch a couple games back where he was against the Raptors, man. When he was just, especially in the first quarter, he was just fucking lights out. He knocked down 7 out of 10 from long range, improving to 44% of the season on 3-point. One of the best shooting percentages in the league. I love it, man. Turning the Garden back into an advantage. I grew up in two places in the sports lexicon. I grew up in two places. I've talked about this before. I grew up in the Meadowlands, Giant Stadium. I've talked about it on Sundays. My dad would drop us off at 11:30 in front of the Meadowlands. He'd give me $20. Now, you got to remember, this was in the 70s. Give me $20 and say, I'll pick you up at 4:30. And one of the other places that I spent a large segment of my childhood and adulthood was in MSG. Not only remembering those miracle runs in the 90s for both the Knicks and the Rangers, but literally watching the Garden be this dominant building where you knew that if you came in, this is where your hopes and dreams went to die. Now, the only thing we can hope is that we have the same success against the Orlando Magic on Sunday. Orlando Magic's got a little bit of our number. We're 0-2 versus them. We've been pretty much blown out each time. We have to figure out a way to beat this team, because more than likely we may see Orlando sometime down into the playoffs. Now, we have seen that, especially in recent history, not only in Knick history, but we have seen that teams that have owned or had the numbers of other organizations or other teams in the season really doesn't mean anything in regards to, when you hit the playoffs. Because the playoffs, they're a whole different magic. They're a whole different thing. The playoffs are just something totally different. But the Knicks are going to have to make some adjustments to avoid that third straight loss to the Magic. They're going to have to figure out a way. They're going to have to figure out what's going on. And both teams are gearing up for the NBA Cup quarterfinals. The NBA Cup thing's a fucking joke. I'm not going to lie. It's basically soccer rolled into the NBA. And there's nothing wrong with soccer, which is also known as European football. But it's one of those things that you just, I don't know. One thing that the Knicks do have to do against the Magic is they struggled to defend the shot and defend the three. They struggled a lot against the Magic. I think they made 12 from 34 from 3-point line last time. Well, that's not a great number considering sometimes the Knicks shoot 60% from a three for a quarter, but 35% continuously is a pretty good clip. And the Knicks have to get back to their defensive toughness. They have to get back to being that team that plays both sides of the ball. Like I said, last night was a good indication that you dropped 41 points in the first to 13 of the Jazz, but then the Knicks had a little bit of a lull in that second quarter again with letting the Jazz score 34 and 27. But then they drop a 47 burger again the Knicks do in the third quarter, and then 31 still with the subs in that fourth. Consistency. I love consistency. I was trying to see how many guys last night on the Knicks. Let's see. How many guys last night on the Knicks scored? I think everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12 guys on the Knicks put up at least 1 point. Mitchell Robinson, Mitchell, you better start staying in shape, Mitchell, and you better start getting yourself ready. Because you could be the trade bait because if OG can stay healthy, and that's a big knock on wood. I love the lineup of OG. I always have, and I thought this was the most consistent lineup. And I didn't question Mike Brown in the beginning because of the coming off the finger surgery and not having any feeling in that thumb for Josh Hart. But I'm telling you, Brunson, Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, Hart, and OG Anunoby. I've said this last year. That is a starting five that can compete for an NBA championship. It's going to be the role players off the bench that are going to be either our saviors or are going to be to our detriment. And right now with Mitchell Robinson, McBride, and Clarkson, you got three guys. You got three guys you can rely on coming off that bench, but we still need a point guard. It's nothing against Tyler, but I need a true facilitator and scorer, another scorer off that from the guard position, and someone that can defend off that bench. Ariel Hakaporti, I like Ariel. I think he is a guy that can give you 5 to 7 minutes if you use him consistently off the bench. You know, be that big body rebounder. But again, it's going to be that starting five of OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Karl Anthony Towns, Bridges, and Brunson that are going to push this team into the playoffs and hopefully into the NBA Finals. I'll be at the game on Sunday, so I can't wait for that. It's a 12 o'clock game. I don't know why they're fucking doing that, but you know what? We'll be down for that. Again, like, subscribe, follow the channel. If you see us on the podcast, make sure you give us a 5-star review on the podcast. Push out the content. Let's grow this channel because, like I said, I usually do the Giant stuff, but Knicks have always been my true passion. And the passion is back at the Garden. This is Tim, this New York Knicks Unleashed, and I'm out of here.